After watching Jude Bellingham single-handedly destroy La Liga, it got me thinking we have a special talent on our hands. Throughout history, Real Madrid have signed some quality players, Galacticos if you like. Beckham, Figo, Zidane, Faubert, Ronaldo, the original one, and the one who's now semi-retired, and now Bellingham. So how did he get to Madrid? Well, it was obviously through Dortmund selling him to them, but I mean, how did a Birmingham City youth player find himself rubbing shoulders with players like Vinny, Modric and Joselu at the age of 19? What's his story, and which managers are responsible for making him into the player he is today? Stick around to find out. Our story begins in 2003 when Jude Victor William Bellingham was born. His dad was a sergeant in the police and was also a decent non-league striker, who apparently could have played at a higher level but his work prevented it. But his dad not only banged up prisoners in jail but also banged in the goals. Seeing his dad play influenced Jude to become a player himself, and Jude and his little bro Job would tag along to their dad's coaching sessions while he was at Stourbridge. This guy was Mark's manager at Stourbridge and was there when Mark scored 62 in a season, and he could apparently see that there was something special about Jude, even in those early coaching sessions. He joined Birmingham City's pre-academy at under 7 level but didn't stand out at first, according to Mike Dodds, who ran the academy. But as time went on, his thirst to improve started to stand out. He'd stay after training to practice with his dad and brother and would also challenge the club's coaches to contests. And I'm not sure if it's the same as letting your little brother win just to make him happy, but he did apparently often win those contests. It was when he was around 11 years old that his hard work started to pay off and he started to develop much better than the other kids. In one match in the academy against Bristol City, Bellingham scored 9 goals and the club really started to take notice of his talent as he came up in the under-10s and under-11s. It probably helped when he scored 15 goals in one half for the under-10s, to be fair, but Bellingham quickly realised that to survive against the bigger boys, the only way was by playing smarter, thinking multiple steps ahead, being more intelligent in his movement and making quick sound decisions. And Jude knew he was good. He loved the pressure of knowing he was good, knowing that others in the academy wanted to beat him. And it was around this time that in an under-11s a match against Everton, Birmingham were losing 6-1 at half time. In the second half, Bellingham could be seen hyping up his teammates and he scored 5 and assisted 1 that match to draw 6-6. In the first place, I'd question where he was in the first half, but make no mistake, his leadership qualities were shining through. And there were multiple stories like this when he was a youth. When he was in the under-10s, he was called over to play the last 15 minutes for an under-11s match against Villa. Birmingham were losing 3-1 when he came on, and you can probably guess the rest. Bellingham scored a hat-trick and Birmingham won 4-3. And it's important to note that in his early youth career he played as a striker, but Birmingham coaches felt he could offer more from a deeper position. So Mike Dodds had a conversation with Bellingham when he was 12. When Bellingham was 12, not Dodds, that'd be weird. He asked Bellingham what role he envisioned for himself and Bellingham said a number 10. Dodds replied, "I see you more as a 22. Traits of a number 4 defensive mid, a number 8 box-to-box player and a number 10 attacking third, hence 22. This story is well known as to why Bellingham wore number 22 at Dortmund, but when discussing Bellingham's youth programme with him, they discussed 3 players: Rooney, Slippy G and Gaza, one of Dodd's favourite players. When he was 13, England came knocking, selecting him for the under-15s, but Jude felt an outsider in the England camp as he was surrounded by players playing for the big clubs, and he felt that by representing Birmingham, he felt he had to prove his worth more to the others. By the under-16s level, he was team captain, and in 2017, when Jude was 15, Bellingham played Feyenoord in Rotterdam. This was no ordinary Feyenoord team though, as it had a few players that had won the under-17 Euros earlier in the year. Bellingham was the youngest on the pitch and made the game his own. At half-time, the changing room door was allegedly constantly knocking with people asking, "Who's that number 10? At Birmingham, he was playing 2 age groups above his own, but still dominated, causing Birmingham coaches to move him further up into the under-23s. And guess what? He still stood out, scoring on his debut against Notts Forest at the City Ground as the youngest player on the pitch again. But Bellingham had his eyes on something else. He'd long wanted to beat Trevor Francis' record of the youngest player to play for Birmingham, and time was running out. In 2019, Jude was part of Birmingham's pre-season tour of Portugal in the first team just after turning 16, but he returned frustrated as he felt he hadn't been given enough game time and he thought he was being unfairly held back due to his age. He spoke to Dodds and got a few things off his chest, saying he should be judged on his performances rather than age. Shortly after this, the moment he'd been waiting for. Birmingham manager Pep Clotet played Jude, aged 16 years and 38 days in an EFL Cup match against Portsmouth, becoming Birmingham's youngest ever player. As the weeks went on, things got better and better for Bellingham as he scored on his senior home debut in August 2019 against Stoke, aged 16, taking another record off poor Trevor Francis, and started the next match and scored the only goal of the game against Charlton. But in his first season he made 44 appearances and was the EFL Young Player of the Year. A resounding success, you might say. He handled the physicality of the Championship well and other clubs came sniffing. Some pretty good clubs were impressed by Bellingham, such as Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, and some less than good clubs such as Man United, who were apparently preparing a bid for him, but Jude spoke to his family and chose the route he felt was best for his development, Borussia Dortmund. He saw Jadon Sancho's progress in Deutschland, as well as others who've passed through the Signal Iduna Park, such as Lewandowski and Haaland, and felt he'd get more first-team opportunities, so at the ripe old age of 17, and in the middle of a pandemic, he became the most expensive 17-year-old in history when he moved to Germany for 25 million quid. As soon as he signed for Dortmund, Birmingham announced they were retiring his shirt number. So how did this go down with rival fans? Rumours within the club are that the shirt wasn't retired but was just being kept for Job in future or Jude's return, which, let's face it, is probably not going to happen. But the Blues were mocked for this decision as he'd only played one season, but to be fair, nobody's laughing now. There was no chance the pressure easing at Dortmund, as the German press described him as the second coming of Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard, which is high praise indeed, but it didn't impact Jude as he scored on his debut against Duisburg to become their youngest scorer in any competitive match. And shortly after moving to Dortmund, he became England under-21's youngest player and goal scorer in a match against Kosovo, in the same match that Eddie Nketiah scored a 10-minute hat-trick. And he didn't look out of place at Dortmund either, even with the big step up to the Champions League with some excellent performances, including a goal that wasn't a goal against Man City in 2021. In fact, it might just have been 19-year-old Bellingham running the show against Sevilla in a 4-1 win in 2022 that turned Madrid heads, as he stepped up in the absence of leaders like Royce and Hummels. He ended as Dortmund's top scorer in the competition with 4 goals in 7 starts, even though he was generally played further back. Over those 3 seasons, no player aged 20 or under had more game time in any of Europe's top 5 leagues, and in his last season he won more duels than anyone else and was also number 1 in the league for successful dribbles, and was just overall one of the best performers, so it was no wonder he was Germany's Player of the Year for 2022-23. And so into the last match against Mainz. Dortmund knew that a win against a team who finished 9th would hand them the title and stop Bayern winning it for the 86th time in a row. Due to injury, Bellingham watched his teammates from the bench. It didn't start well as Mainz took the lead after 15 minutes, but just 4 minutes later, Dortmund had the opportunity to draw level as Haller stood over a penalty. Okay, never mind. Still 70 odd minutes left in the match. Disaster for Dortmund. Bad for Borussia. 2 goals in the last 20 minutes for Dortmund gave hope, but in the end they could only draw to Mainz to hand the title to Bayern. Bellingham was tired of playing with such losers, so moved to Madrid shortly after. Okay, that's not quite what he said, but Madrid had been loitering for a while, and so it was on the 14th of June 2023, Jude became the 6th Englishman to join Real Madrid, after Laurie Cunningham, Steve McManaman, Dave Beckham, Michael Owen, and amazingly Jonathan Woodgate. At €103 million, he was Dortmund's second biggest sale and Madrid's second biggest purchase, but he endeared himself to the Dortmund fans and they were sad to see him go. But there's no doubt he left a Jude Bellingham shaped hole in the Dortmund midfield, so much so that the management believed it would take 2 high quality signings to replace him, and they started off well with their first signing, the bought Felix Mecha from Wolfsburg, which some fans weren't happy about due to some controversy around some social media posts. But Bellingham wasn't exactly unknown to controversy himself. At the end of 2021, he found himself on the naughty step after comments he made about referee Felix Zweier in a 3-2 loss to Bayern, a match which Zweier rejected 2 penalty appeals for Dortmund and gave 1 to Bayern. The same Felix Zweier who served a 6-month ban for match fixing in 2005, by the way. In a TV interview, Bellingham slightly hinted at this match fixing ban when he said, "You give a referee that has match fixed before the biggest game in Germany, what do you expect?" Needless to say, the German authorities were less than pleased with his accusations, found him guilty of unsportsmanlike behaviour and fined him €40,000. Zweier had the nerve to come out and describe his comments as disparaging and respectless and demanded that Jude meet him for an apology. Did he? Well, put it like this. Dortmund's chief exec himself, Hans-Joachim Watzke, said there's not a great prospect of that. But it was mission accomplished in Dortmund. The club claimed they can make him a full international within 2 years. It took a whole 4 months. And talking about his international career, Jude has found himself an important member of the England team at such a young age, after his England debut aged 17 years 136 days in a friendly against the Republic of Ireland. Quite ironic when he could have played for them through a grandparent. But anyway, he became England's 3rd youngest international after Theo Walcott and Wayne Rooney. When he came off the bench against Croatia in the Euros in 2021, he became the youngest player in the history of the Euros, a record which lasted for 6 days, until it was beaten by Poland's Kacper Kozlowski. He went into the 2022 World Cup at 19 and in Dortmund's first team for the last 3 seasons. He had a solid tournament, crazy when you think that before the tournament, his only competitive starts were against the might of San Marino and Andorra. To date, he's won 27 England caps, which takes him above Keegan in the list of England caps while at a non-English club, into the top 5. And he's the only England international to earn none of his caps while playing in England. He's no doubt a future England captain. So what are his weaknesses? Okay, now we've got that out the way, what are his strengths? Well, he's technical as well as physical, endless stamina, and he can do it all. Press, win the ball, drive forward, and create with the right pass. All evidenced in his run against Italy in the Euro qualifier in October 23, when he not only won a penalty for Kane to score, and if you want to see a video on Kane, I'll pop a button up the top in a shameless plug for one of my other videos, but also created the second goal for Rashford with a driving run. And so to his move to Madrid, he joined a midfield containing qualities such as Modric, Kroos, Valverde, Tchouaméni, Arda Güler, Camavinga and Theo Zidane. And as if competing with them and moving to Madrid wasn't pressure enough, Real handed him the number 5 shirt, previously worn by Zidane and Manolo Sanchez before him. The pressure was on, and his start hasn't been bad. He scored his first goal in the pre-season friendly against Man United, although Onana was in goal, so it probably wasn't that difficult. And he won the Player of the Month award for August after 4 goals and an assist in his first 3 league matches, which unbelievably made him the first Englishman to win the award. He scored on his league debut against Athletic Bilbao. He scored the winning goal on his Real Champions League debut against Union Berlin, and went on to score 14 goals in 15 appearances, becoming the only player for the club to score more than 13 goals in their first 15 matches, surpassing the 13 goals set by Ronaldo, Di Stefano and Prudence Sanchez. And let's not forget that this kid is a midfielder. And this brings us mostly up to date. He won the Copper Trophy in 2023 with more than double the points over Musiala, and also won the Golden Boy Award in 2023, an award previously won by Rooney, Mbappe and Messi, although also won by Anderson, Sterling and Martial, so take from that what you will. But the thing that sets Bellingham apart, and probably why he's doing so well in Madrid, is his mentality. He's the most talented youngster to come from Birmingham since Trevor Francis in the 70s, no offence Birmingham, and wasted no time in declaring his desire to break records set by Francis. And Paul Robinson, the man who was brave enough to play many years for Birmingham, as well as great rivals West Brom, who also managed the under-23 team at Birmingham, said he's always thinking about how to evolve his game, what he needs to do better, what he can do to make his teammates better. He was head and shoulders above some of the first team players who had long careers. And this was summed up by Bellingham himself when he was 14, when he missed a penalty in the semi-final for Birmingham under-15s in the summer tournament in Barcelona in 2017, when he said, "Top players don't miss penalties. If I want to be a top player, I've got to be better than that." And in 2021, when a friend texted him congratulating him on an excellent first season in Germany, he simply replied, "I've got to beat it next season." So is this another apparent case of the English hyping up their players? Let's take a look elsewhere then. Roy Keane said that everything he does in the game, what goes on in his brain, decision making, end product, final pass, the kid has everything. And he was talking about Bellingham, not Dennis Irwin. The Bundesliga website claimed him to be the best midfielder in the world at 19. Before the World Cup match against France, many French fans wrote on X about their concerns. It seems for once that the hype is real then. So what does the future hold for Bellingham? As things stand, his trophy cabinet looks a little bare. He won the German Cup with Dortmund in 2021 and the Super Cup in 2024. But let's hope that his time at Madrid is the start of something special. And when leaving Birmingham, he said to the gaffer, Pep Clotet, "Maybe one day I'll be back at the club where it started." Seems a little unlikely now if you ask me, but who knows? After this wonder kid has conquered Europe and won England the World Cup, who knows what'll happen? He could even win the Ballon d'Or. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, may I suggest a like and a sub, as that's what this channel's all about. And if you want to watch another video, I would suggest these two on screen now. But thanks for watching and see you soon.